Bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. We are live. Thursday, the 30th of June, the last day in the first half of 2020. So we've got some stuff to talk about tonight, but that's crazy. I can't believe how fast this year has gone. I know everyone says that it's like the classic thing, but this year has just been crazy the first 6 months. So, yeah, absolutely looking forward to getting stuck into this chat. All things Buckinghamshire, find out what's going on in High Wycombe, find out what's going on in Slough, what's going on with new homes with Mr. Mead as well. A little bit of an update on things since the base rate has changed. What have we seen with mortgages since the base rate changed 2 months in a row as well? So, as I always like to say at the start, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube. If you're listening, thank you so much. If you could give us a like so we know you can hear us. And if you've got questions for us, don't be shy. We're a friendly bunch. We'd love to answer your questions. Please put them in the comments. I don't mind rude ones. Andrew sometimes get offended by the rude ones, but I'm fine with them. And loves the rude ones. Mike will answer them all for us. So let's get stuck straight in. Got Chris on LinkedIn. Good to see you, Chris. Hope all is well. But first of all, I thought we should all just wish Mr. Matthew Pulford a quick happy birthday. One of the avocado partners who operates in Wokingham. He's the grand age of 52 today, and he's looking good for it. I'm sure he'll be playing golf at some point over the weekend to celebrate. So happy birthday, Matthew. Enjoy the rest of your day, bud. Andrew, I'll come to you first. How are you? New haircut? Sporting a new haircut?
Yeah, good. It was getting too long, and every so often, about once every 2 years, I decide just to shave it all off. So the time was last week.
Good. All right. And is that relative to the property market? Are you gearing up for a new second half of the year with a different property market? You're expecting much of the same?
Yeah, new hair, new homes, and all that. It's getting busy, so serious hair time.
We've got Mike jumping on just for a bit of branding police, which we did mention, out of date board, which we did highlight. But Andy's so busy, all his boards are out at properties rather than in his office, and that is the good news. That is the good news. Michael, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Busy.
You've been busy?
Yeah, last 2 or 3 months actually. Really busy, which is lovely.
We've got Kelly jumping in. Nice to see you, Kelly. Thank you for joining us. Again, any questions anyone's got, fire them in the comments. We're happy to answer. But yeah, I've noticed your social media. You've been busy with everything, Mike. You've had big houses, little houses, flats, townhouses, detached houses, everything going on up there. So yeah, great to see. Mr. Mead, have you been out flying your drone, or has it been a little bit too windy?
No, I was out this morning. I was out the weekend. So no, but yeah, it's going all right, the drone stuff.
Good. And how about the new home side of things? Good market?
Yeah, very good, very busy. Loads to talk about. Loads of people still keen to buy. Loads of people still want to take advantage of the Help to Buy whilst it's still there. I had a good conversation with somebody actually in the week about the Help to Buy, so you might hear a bit of a scoop here this evening. So yeah, it's good. But why is your what clock saying 4 o'clock behind you?
Kids. If in doubt, blame the kids. I don't know. I ran 100 miles and all the clocks have changed since then, so I don't know what's going on. But it's a very good point. Very good point. So we've got a couple of questions coming here, actually. So we've got Chris on LinkedIn, and I'm just going to throw both of these out there because we're going to talk about them all. Now the first half of the year is done. What do you guys think the second half has in store? And then Bob Singh, who's also on LinkedIn, has said, how far from a recession? And they both answer themselves, I guess, in the same view. I'll go with the one that's slightly less negative, and leave Chris's on there just for the time being. But Bob, I would love your view on that as well as we answer ours. Do you think we're coming into recession? Anyone listening, do they believe we're coming into recession? I would love to hear what everyone thinks. We've got loads of questions coming in here, so we're going to have to fire through a few of them separately. Akil, are you finding that the tables are intermittently turning, and are we entering a buyer's market in the second half of 2022? opposed to what we've seen for the last 2.5 years, which has definitely been a seller's market. And we've also got Mark that's saying good evening. So good evening to you all. So let's just touch on Chris first of all. Not literally, that'd be weird. Let's talk about his comment. Michael.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Second half of the year, what are you expecting in Buckinghamshire?
Prices have adjusted, and I think we'll just see a sort of a level playing field for the rest of the year. I know there's a lot going on in the world, but there's not enough property. There's still a lot of buyers out there, and mortgage rates, albeit they've gone up, they're still good. And
any expectations on if there is some sort of global recession or UK recession? What's your expectation?
Yeah. Is there going to be a recession? All I can say, I can tell you what's going on in the world up here with houses. I know if it's on at the right price, it's selling straight away. I've got an asking price offer on a house that I posted on Facebook yesterday. It's the right money. I sold a flat yesterday at over asking price because it was on at the right money. But if they're overpriced though, which I think we've just got carried away with over the last 2 years, put a property on at any price and it will get it.
Yeah.
That's not happening anymore. I'm not a big fan of statistics, but I've got some stats in the sort of the Buckinghamshire area about that. But yeah, if it's too much money, nothing's happening on it. If it's the right money, there's people out there, quite a lot of them, and things are going.
So I would classify that as a good market. That's normally what we've seen over the last sort of 20 years. When properties go on at the right money, they're sold within the first 2 weeks, more often than not for asking price, or you mentioned a couple over. That's a good solid market. That's like a 5-6% a year growth market. So that's quite interesting. Your feedback there. Andrew, what about yourself? What's your thoughts in and around the Slough area?
I don't think there'll be a recession anytime soon. I mean, we've survived one pandemic, one stamp duty holiday, 2 base rate increases, interest rates going up, and there's still people out there buying properties. So there's 4 reasons why people shouldn't have bought properties, and the housing market boomed during all of it. So I don't see why anything unforeseen now should change the housing market drastically in the next 6 to 12 months, personally.
Okay, interesting. Bob's reply to what I asked him to do. So thank you. We love these comments and we love these questions and we love people's thoughts on the market because it gives us topics to chat about. And from Bob's point of view, he kind of feels there's a real risk that interest rates will significantly go up. Affordability will be affected. And with a capital if the war doesn't end, then yes, a significant slowdown. And that's kind of Bob's take on, I guess, globally where we may be. I think really, really difficult one to obviously answer, which was his original question about recession. I think obviously inflation is very high. Cost of living is obviously very high at the moment. And if we look at inflation versus salary increases, in reality, people are getting paid less in the grand spectrum of things because inflation is above average salary rates. So people are earning the same money, but they're earning less, if that makes sense, because of the way of the spend. The only thing I would say at the moment is, although there is a lot of talk around all of this negativity, I see more Deliveroo drivers than I've ever seen in my life. Every single restaurant is full every evening, every weekend. You can't get tickets to sporting events or to concerts or to anything socially because they're sold out faster than they've ever sold. Travel agents are busier than they've ever been in their lives, even with everything that's gone on. The cost of going on holiday is more expensive than it's ever been. And that's because of demand, along some other things. People have got more money than they've had previously because of furlough. And I think from a global economic standpoint, the data shows that we've had the same amount of value of the whole of the USA economy dumped onto the planet since the global pandemic extra. So we're a whole USA richer as a globe. So I don't know. I'm not with it on the property market impact. If we do go into recession, I don't feel that the property market will be impacted in the same way to what people potentially are talking about with a house price correction or potentially prices dropping. And the reason why is what both of you said, Michael and Andrew, that is that supply and demand dictates the housing market. So that's my 2 pennies worth on it. What's your kind of view on that, Andy? What are you thinking, looking at it from new homes and someone that's got a really good level of experience in the industry? What do you think's around the corner?
I think as a nation, we are great at talking ourselves into a recession. We are great at wanting to be in a recession. We are great at not looking at the positives, but always looking at the what ifs and what ifs, whys, and wherefores. The facts are, as Andrew says, we've gone through 4 reasons why there should be a recession. Yes, I appreciate that cost of living and everything's gone up, but your point is valid. You can't get tickets to anywhere. You can't get into a restaurant. You still see everybody driving their cars. There's still more cars on the road than there has ever been. I mean, I filled my car up the other day. It was 127 quid. It bloody nearly gave me a heart attack again.
Yeah.
So it was that is, but we're still out and about doing stuff. Everybody's still out and about doing stuff. So I think the housing market, as you say, I don't think it'll be massively affected. I think, as Michael says, there's going to be a plateau towards the end of the year. But I firmly believe that it will continue to be strong, and people still need to buy houses. There's still a housing shortage in the UK.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that the market will still turn. It may not be as active as it was January, February time, when you could put a house on the market at 10 grand more than it was worth, and within a couple of days, a couple of weeks, it would sell for that price. House prices are still going up £24 a day. So, hey, look, I don't know. I haven't got a crystal ball. If I did, I wouldn't be sat here with you 3 guys.
Well, maybe in 10 years you wouldn't be, but you are right now, even with the crystal ball. Yeah. No, informative and educational kind of take on it, definitely. Akil was put in here. It's on the same lines of question, but I thought I'd bring this up because I think it's really important that people know how to read property market data. And one thing that I've often struggled with over the last 20 years being in the game is how people don't necessarily, they do manipulate it slightly, but how they take a read on it. And I'll explain that. So are the tables turning? Are we entering a buyer's market? No. And the reason we're not entering a buyer's market is because so many people moved in the stamp duty holiday that it's brought a lot of people's 3-year plan forward to already happen. So all those people that weren't planning on moving when the stamp duty tax holiday came in, that have now moved, are therefore not going to be moving over the next 18, 24 months because they've done it because they saved the money. As a result, less properties will come on the market. As Andy said, planning on new homes, help to buy scenarios, the cost of obviously materials and just getting applications through and getting properties built at the moment from a new homes kind of thing is slower. So if we've got less resi on and we've got less new homes on, and interest rates at the moment are still really low on the grand spectrums of things, if you look at the last 10-year average, 15-year average. And this is important as well for people to remember, is rental prices are about, on average, the cost of a mortgage on a rental property, rent versus mortgage, there's about a 60% swing. And when it goes, it's more expensive to get a mortgage than rent the same property, that's when the housing market starts to drop and resi starts to fall. At the moment, you could spend £1,500 on your rent monthly and the mortgage could be £850. And until that changes, people will still be looking to buy property. Why I've put that in there, Akil, and one of the things that I often sort of struggle with is if the data shows that we've got 13% growth last year and this year it's 6%, someone could read that as a 7% drop in the rate of growth. It's not a drop in the rate of house prices. It's 7% less than it was last year, but it's still 6% up on where you started the year. And that's a struggle, isn't it, sometimes, Michael, with how people manipulate the data a little bit, I find.
Yeah, you can turn any data into a negative read, can't you?
Yeah,
I think the thing, what he's saying about the buyer's market is what Neil just put on there, that he's going through 60 inquiries. It's because the house that he's got or the property he's got is on for the right money.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's on for the right money.
Yeah.
I find that if you're going with how the market was sort of jumping up, what, 10, 12% year on year, maybe more than that, those are the houses that are just sort of sitting there, not doing anything. They've just overinflated the price.
Yeah.
Right money, there's buyers there. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally agree. Bob's come in with some more information. And sorry, it's such a big comment that Andy, you're going to have to stand up a little bit, bud. There you go. Hello. He's talking about scrapping of affordability, which I believe comes in on the 1st of August. And this is very much now a conversation where I guess it's getting a bit in depth, and we need to probably get mortgage advisors to chat to clients about. We're not mortgage advisors, but I do understand what he's saying here about the banks having to now look at the ratio levels. I think lenders need to step up and take a leap of faith, starting to do 5 or 5.5 times at, say, 90%. Some remortgages, Bob, from my understanding, recently there was a product for 7%, 7 times income, I believe, which I guess was a test of market one. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens with affordability. One thing that I would say is if you can get a 95% loan to value mortgage, putting 5% deposit down, then that's a real positive place for first time buyers to go into. The affordability thing, obviously, we'll have to see how the banks follow through on that. But yeah, it's interesting. There's some concerns from your perspective there, Bob, I can see. We'll have to see how they unfold. I don't think, with the affordability scrapping on mortgages, we're going to see what we saw in 2007 and 8, because they're just not going to make that mistake again. So interesting chat. Would welcome everyone's view on it. Georgina's jumped in as well. She said, has anyone spoken to someone who's decided not to move because they're worrying about a market crash? Has anyone had that conversation with a buyer recently?
No.
Not one.
I think one thing that I spoke to a couple of agents about is maybe there's slightly less inquiries on the average property, a well-priced property, on at the right money, maybe not under market value, maybe, a couple of percent over what others have sold for. So call it the right money in this market. Slightly less buyer registrations, maybe for the open house that got on the Saturday than, say, 6 months ago, but not significant. We're talking, you're getting 15 inquiries rather than 30 inquiries, and it's selling on the Monday still. So that answers that question, Georgina. Thank you for that.
I had one on Saturday in like that as well. A
Yeah.
house. I'd sold it in March, and the open house in March on the Saturday, 25 people turned up. 65% of everybody who viewed offered. Some silly stat like that, and it went way over the asking price.
Mm-hmm.
Had to do filth, but unfortunately the buyer pulled out, personal reasons. Put it back on the market. Did an open house this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
The volume wasn't there, as in it wasn't 25 plus, but it was still 18 people, 15, 18 people, and it sold.
There you go. And that's what I'm
Not
expecting.
over the asking price, but at the asking price.
Happy client. Andy, how did you get on with the new home site in Buckinghamshire? I know you launched those last time we spoke on this live chat about Bucks. You felt like it was going to go positive. You got some amazing social media campaigns that you put together on it. Did that go as expected?
Yeah. So plots 1, 2, 3, and 4 have all sold or planned. Plot 5, the larger one, we've had a couple of bites on it, but not sold yet, but loads of interest for more viewings to go in there. So it's not even built yet. The roof's not even on the 5-bed. So you're asking people to pay £750,000 and not having seen it, but people are prepared to do that. So as I say, the smaller plots, the 2 3-beds and the 2 2-beds are reserved in solicitors' hands going through. And I say the last 5-bed is available. There's another advert gone out on Facebook tonight around the whole area as a targeted campaign for people that have already looked at the other stuff. So they're all being made aware that plot is now fully released. So It's gone as we would expect on getting people to buy something that they can't actually see.
Pretty positive for the market to not have the touchy-feely part of it. Georgina, thank you for your comment. Thank you for your question. Loving these questions this evening. We've got loads flying in, so keep them coming through. Really appreciate it. And a great question. This is a great question. Andrew, I'll start with you and then I'll go to Michael. What would you class as a long time for a property to be on the market in the current climate?
Depending on the property, if I said it was a freehold property, it's a family home, anything longer than, say, 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks tops, depending on the marketing strategy that you put in place. For a leasehold property, I'd say probably 4 weeks is about fair. But again, it should be less than that. But anything beyond that would be a conversation for me to start having with any potential vendors that I've got. But it depends how you priced it. If you price it sensibly, then like Mike's already said, 2 or 3 days. Yeah. So if you're pricing at a more, a higher price, a more of a cheeky price, then there's 4 weeks tops for a leasehold and 2 or 3 for a freehold.
Yeah, super. I'm just gonna, before I go to you, Michael, because we've got the birthday man in the house here. He might have missed us at the start. We did, Matthew, we did sing you happy birthday. All 4 of us were in like a boy band. It was the crispest quartet you've ever seen in your life of singing. So please go back and watch that later on because you will love it. And thank you for getting involved this evening. Happy birthday. Can't believe you're 52. You're looking so good for it, mate. And also he says 3 weeks is his take on that there. So back to Georgina. Michael, your thoughts? Any advances or changes to what Andrew said? Or
2 weeks, but priced at, I think if it's a property under 700,000, sort of 750,000. If it's under that, I'd say 2 weeks. Anything over that seems to take a little bit longer, maybe double that time.
I guess some of it sometimes depends on the seller's circumstances as well, whether they're ready and whether you've done marketing earlier and stuff like that. It's hard to know how long has something been on the market? Do we classify it as when we put it and when we started the social campaign, when it went on the portals, or when the first viewing took place? Because sometimes, I know with a property I had recently, it went on the portals, but we didn't actually do the first viewing for 2.5 weeks, and then it sold that Monday after that Saturday. So you could say it was on the market for 2 days in reality from first viewing, or 1 day. But yeah, I guess it's how you take it. But to answer Georgina's, we're saying basically, if you're on the market longer than 3 or 4 weeks, then somewhere something's potentially not quite right. And that might be marketing, it might be the text, might be the agent, might be the price of the property. It has to be something around there because the demand will be there, because properties will sell if they're correctly priced and correctly marketed, as long as the agent's going through the door are having the right conversations with the buyers. That's what I would say. I had a question up here that I ran past. It was Sanjay. Why is there more price reductions happening than new properties coming to the market? And how should buyers view this? What do you reckon, Mr. Meads? You don't see many price reductions often in the new homes game, and definitely not for the last 2 years. But as a buyer, sort of looking at it from a non-estate agency perspective, if you're seeing more properties being reduced than listed, is that the market, the agents, greedy vendors? What have we got there in theory? Mix of all?
I think it depends which way you look at it. If you look at it either way, you could look at it from, if you're a buyer who doesn't know the industry, the market is dropping. If you're somebody who's in the industry and knows what's going on, is it overvaluation to get the house on the market to then bring the price down to get the sale?
You've spoke about that before, Michael, actually, where unfortunately in our industry, one of the reasons why we do get a bad reputation as a group, and I'm not saying Avocado Group, I'm just saying estate agents in general, a lot of the high street and the corporate agents have targets to hit, and therefore when you're under pressure to go and get targets, if you can say a little bit more money, it makes the listing sometimes go a little bit easier in your favor, and that does happen, doesn't it, in the industry?
Yeah.
Sorry, mate, just to jump in, Michael. Sorry, I looked at a site, priced a site today for a client in our core area, and he's been on the market for several weeks. Couldn't understand why he's not selling it. Now it's a site that's got full planning permission, all the seals have been paid, hasn't sold it. Couldn't understand why, because the agent was telling him the price. I looked at it, and the agent's valuations, the GDV, the gross development value, is £400,000 more than realistically it should be. Hence the reason why he's not selling it.
Yeah.
And a lot of buyers will look at it. Our buyers, i.e. developers, they'll do their own due diligence. You know, these guys aren't thick. So they'll look at a development and say, "Oh, fine, Andy Lee's saying this price, Bob's saying that price, Harry's saying that price. Let me have a look and see what price I can come up with." And if he's coming up with a price that's the genuine price, that's what he's going to pay for it. That 400 grand invariably going to be the profit. So he's going to build it for nothing if he buys it at the higher price.
Crazy. That's the world we're in, isn't it? Of getting the pricing right. So yeah. Michael, sorry, we were talking about agents overvaluing.
Well, a little stat for sort of my area. In the last 2 weeks, just those properties that are just added on Rightmove, in the last 2 weeks in High Wycombe, a fifth of them are reductions, and in the villages, sort of HP10, HP15, and 16, sort of the villages out here where I am at the moment, is over a quarter of them. They're all reduced properties. So when you go on Rightmove, you put in a postcode and have a look what's been added in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If it's in the villages, yeah, over a quarter of them are reductions. Where I think the agent's just going in, and in that, I think they're just looking back to prices that they were in the spring or the start of this year, and kind of continuing. Well, they must be still going up.
Are the villages typically more expensive, Michael, than?
They are, yeah. There's much more activity in the sort of in High Wycombe itself. Most of the houses that have sold are under 500,000, and sort of that sort of lower part.
Yeah. Okay.
Lower part, 500 grand, still a lot of money, but
so where the volume is lower and the prices are higher, we're potentially seeing more of overvaluing. Darren's in the agency game, and he said, yeah, nothing new with agents overvaluing. Unfortunately, we know about it, don't we? It does happen. And to answer kind of Sanjay's question, that's probably why we're seeing price reductions happening. What should buyers read into it? Opportunity is what I would say. Do your own market research, and if you see properties that are being reduced, maybe they're now down to the right price that they should have been on at the beginning, see it as an opportunity, is what I would say. Darren said, I'm finding agents swapping instructions now. First time that's happened in 18 months. So yeah, and by swapping instructions, for people listening that are not in the industry, effectively it means an estate agent has served their whole contract with that client, and the client has gone elsewhere after the contract has come to an end, to try marketing with a new agent. And we haven't seen a lot of that for definitely 18, 20, 24 months. Seeing a little bit more of it happen now, for sure. And that's potentially a sign of the fact that maybe prices are not rocketing like they had been for the last 18 months. Maybe prices are now just starting to do normality rather than bonkers, which is a word we've used quite a lot. So yeah, appreciate your interaction there, Darren, as well. I've got to throw this in because Chris has just said, nice medals, Ian. Heard you've recently run 100 miles in one sitting. The pink one right there, that one is the 100 miler. And I did just get my certificate for in the post as well. So I will throw that in for 20 seconds because, yeah, 100 miles was a fair challenge. So what have you got coming on, guys and girls? Secret squirrels, anything that we could share on this Zoom chat to look forward to? Mr. Mead, you said we've got roofs going on the Buckinghamshire site. Last time you mentioned there's a few irons in the fire. I know with new homes you probably can't disclose anything in detail, but stay on your pages and watch this space, would you say?
Oh, definitely, yeah. So there's if you're not following me on Facebook or on my website, Mead New Homes, you're going to miss out on some great opportunities coming up over the next 3 or 4 months. So yeah, just stay alert, stay in tune with the socials, because that's where it's all going to go first.
Okay.
I don't like the portals.
No,
All
we
on
don't.
socials.
I don't think we need Rightmove and Zoopla anymore. I think we've moved away. We'll see where we get to in the next 6 months, but there we go. Michael, what have you got coming on? Villagers, West Wickham, High Wickham? You've been everywhere.
I've got a beautiful bungalow, rarely available bungalow coming on in Holmer Green. We should fly.
What sort of price?
650.
Detached?
Detached bungalow. Yeah, one of a kind.
Gold
I
dust.
think I'll sell that. I think I'll sell that from social media.
Yeah.
I'm that confident. I think I'll sell it from standing out the front with a camera. I've got a semi-detached 4-bed with an enormous 200-foot garden that backs onto fields. Again, that's in Holm Green. That's coming on next week. Quite a few. I've just about to launch one in Widmer End, which is like a little village. I've just posted on my social media, which that will go really well. Lovely house. So that I think I'll probably sell that from social media without it going on Rightmove as well. Just going back to what you were saying.
So many agents, Michael, say social media doesn't work for the property market.
Yeah.
So the flat I posted yesterday that I sold over asking price, and the buyer came to me via Facebook.
Love it. Awesome. Andy Mead, we've got a question for you in the house here. Darren has said, do you think builders will slow down on building out sites down to cost of build?
No, because they need.
Oh, that was it then.
No, they need to keep building, keep the workforce, because there's such a shortage of workforce. They need to keep the workforce they've got. Yes, there's a slowdown in procurement materials. Hopefully that will start to turn itself around by the end of the year. So I think there's no, in short, no, I don't think they will, Darren, but thanks for asking.
I guess the thing is, if prices have gone up in the last 2 years, call it 25%, cost of build, obviously they were making profit previously anyway. If it does cost a little bit more for materials now, even if materials have gone up 25% or 50%, still the margin is there for the developer. And Darren says he would take that as an absolute definitive no.
Well, I think just going back on that very, very quickly, a lot of land that the big land is strategic land that has been bought years and years ago. So it's not as if they bought the land today at today's inflated values, and therefore they bought the land a while back, possibly at lower values. They bought it as strategic land, so it wasn't as expensive as they would be if it had a planning permission on it. So there's that's one of the reasons why I don't think it will slow down. Some of the smaller guys possibly, but they're just making sure they're getting the land at the right price. But it might affect land values.
One thing I'm surprised about, and Michael, Andy, or Andrew, you might all say different, is I've not seen as many pricing or building applications for the big commercial buildings, office blocks in town centres that I thought I would have seen go for change of use into resi, purely based on the fact that, you know, the whole COVID thing, more people working from home, blah, 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 blah. I thought we'd see a lot of those sort of straight away come in as a great option, but haven't really seen any of that. Do you think that will be a thing or not really? And Andy, Andrew, you're shaking your head like you in Slough have seen a bit of that happen, have you?
Yeah, I think, well, media will relate to it. The one opposite Park House has just started being converted, and they're converting the factory over the road to 300 odd units as well. So every time I seem to drive down Slough High Street, there's a different building being converted. So perhaps outside of like core town centres, if that makes sense as an expression, it's not happening, but certainly in the core Slough area, everything's being converted to flats at the moment. Hence why the market is so sort of weak at that end of it, because they're just being built quicker than people can buy and sell on.
I think invariably as well that the office conversions, the apartments are usually quite small, so they're not great. You know, they're not they're not a great investment to buy into, and invariably they're in a commercial area rather than a residential area. Lenders are getting a little bit skeptical about now lending on those sort of properties. So there's when this the legislation changed about permitted development, there was an awful lot. But I think over the last 3 or 4 years, people have seen that it's not really a great opportunity.
Yeah, they're too small, especially with this day and age where people want workspace in the living rooms and stuff.
It doesn't fit into the new way of living.
And it's
the
too expensive
pre-COVID way of living.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, Michael, got a question for you coming in from Georgina. Thank you, Georgina, for your questions. Love that this evening. She's talking about buyers. Are they still more interested in buying in a village, and then such as Widmer, or are they more instead of High Wycombe town centre? Certainly feels like there's more competition. You mentioned about price reductions in the village as well. Is that a volume versus demand thing, or is that an appeal of certain schools? What's your take on that, Michael? Any tips?
A real mix. I think people are attracted to the villages, for the schools, certainly. But still, going back to COVID, just the fact that Widmer End house, you can walk out your front door and disappear into the country in less than 100 yards, compared to some of the bigger, like the Middle Wycombe. And it's the same with the house that I sold last week in over in West Wycombe. Same thing.
Yeah,
you felt you were in the countryside, and that's what attracted a lot of people to it. But then I've got an open house this Saturday in a house in High Wycombe, right in the middle of town. I still got a load of people turning up. Any tips? Get there first. Get in there first. Like we were saying, properties sell from Facebook. They sell from Instagram. I've sold multiple properties just from beat the portals that you might have seen when we're just talking down our camera, basically outside the property. So if you see anything you like, just message me. It doesn't matter what time it is. I'll pick the phone up. I'll message you back.
Yeah.
Get in there first.
Seems like Georgina potentially is following you on Facebook already, which is great. So yeah, any more detailed questions and tips and advice and what exactly you're looking for, Georgina, I don't know if you spoke to Michael already and sort of said exactly what you're after, but that's what we're here for. We're bespoke agents. We'll try and support and help people on their quest to find properties. So really appreciate it. It's a great question, actually, and hopefully lends nicely to anyone else watching. Is when there is a lot of competition in certain villages, especially, that comes down to basically shouting your qualities, your own USPs as a buyer, almost putting yourself to the top of the CV pile, if you like, and making sure that agent is aware of you, because most properties these days we will know about them 7 days before they hit the portals. So that the 7 days prior is really important. Great question. Akil, what percentage of properties are going to the open market and what remain off market? Are you keen on keeping this off market? As a seller, I'd want the most attention. So I think it's difficult. What defines off market? So we talk about off market, but in reality, it means off portals. As soon as a property or a client has said to us as estate agents that we are happy for you to introduce a buyer, it's on the market at that point. It's on the market with us as the estate agent. Doesn't necessarily mean it's being advertised to the general public. So I would say the second we've agreed engagement with a client and they're happy to receive a viewing, that property is on the market. It's just potentially not on the portals. So defining that, as Michael said, social media, as Andy's been talking about with social media campaigns on news sites, the popularity in Slough at the moment and how busy it is, Andrew's mentioned as well. But quite a lot of those properties, probably somewhere under, I think 20%. I think the Times had an article that 1 in 10 properties are sold in secret across the UK now. And by secret, they effectively mean they've not gone on the portals. But for us, it's a little bit higher than that. It's probably more like 20%. And in terms of attention, well, I guess, again, it's down to the individual. If you want 100 viewings and then 25 offers to make a decision from, then potentially we're not the agent to do it, but there will be agents that will do that for you. But I don't feel the need to do that. I would much rather, and guys, correct me if you think different. Andy, you need a new build help in there, but looks like the house is falling apart. But in terms of retention, it comes down to the quality. And I think, Michael, if you're going to sit down and talk to someone, that's coming down to quality. And Andrew, for you, time is value, isn't it? So, you know, if you're doing a run of viewings, you don't want to just show 15 people through the door because it looks good. You want to show the best 5 people through the door on that Slough property, I would say.
Yeah, I've always said it from day one. I'm a quality viewer over a quantity viewer. I'd rather bring 5 buyers round, but I can guarantee you'll have 2 or 3 offers, than bring 20 buyers round and you'll still have 2 or 3 offers. You're wasting the vendor's time, the owner of the property's time, the viewer's time, but more valuable to anything, I'm wasting my own time.
Yeah.
You know, I've got other properties to deal with. I've got my daughter, I've got families. You know, I'd rather just bring 5 of the hottest buyers round and get 2 or 3 offers on the table. It's just the most straightforward and transparent way of doing it.
And that then in a results in what Darren's mentioned here. Are you guys finding conversion rates on viewings to sales increasing? I would say at the moment, the conversion rate of a viewing into an offer agreed is as strong as it's probably ever been. And that's really good for sellers, for buyers, for estate agents, for mortgage advisors, because it means we're handling quality. And I think one thing that we've all taken from the pandemic is communication. Quality of information helps make a better decision. And it's the same thing, I would imagine, for you, Andy Mead, when you're doing, you know, new homes visits. You don't want to show 15 people around one plot when some of them timescales won't work. Some are in positions that aren't strong enough to compete with the others. You're just going to get more disappointed people when inevitably there's only one property or one plot in that case that you can sell, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think with anything, whether it's brand new or second hand, one buyer. That's all you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's getting the right buyer, and that's what we're good at in terms of what we do in terms of our qualification of the buyers before they go and view the property. You know, we qualify them. We know that they are. It's like the ones at Bledlow. You know, they're not ready till November, December. Now, I've qualified people that needed to be moved in by August, September. There's absolutely no point in them looking at the house because they're not going to be ready.
Yeah.
So rather than sending 10 people up there, you know, we had 5 people up there, but 5 people that could work the timescales that the developer was building to. Yeah. And that's the same with, you know, the second-hand sellers. You know, if a buyer can't move for whatever reason until a certain date, there's absolutely no point trying to push them to get it moved out, because you're not working for the buyer. You're not working for the seller. You're not working for your client. You're working for you. And it's, you know, you've got to listen to what the sellers want and what the sellers' timescales dictate.
Totally agree. Andrew, I didn't manage to come to you and ask you if you've got anything on the horizon, new listings, anything in the pipeline you can let the audience know about.
I'm waiting on someone bought a bungalow off me last year and is converting it to a 4-bed detached property. So I'm waiting for that to be done. That should be imminent. That's on Sydenham Lane. That's going to be somewhere around 750, something like that. Saw a 3-bed.
Is that the one I went to with you? Did we do
that?
Yeah,
ages ago. Yeah. That was my first ever property that I
remember
sold.
Yeah.
So it's kind of staying close to home. He's obviously built on it and going to sell it back through me. So that's a cool one. 3-bed semi. They're not quite ready to sell, but that should be coming on in the next month or so. And then a 2-bed semi-detached Victorian property again coming on shortly.
Awesome. No, I love that. Absolutely love it. Thank you, everyone that's still with us, that's been asking questions. We've had loads of amazing questions this evening. It's been brilliant answering those. We had a whole agenda to go through. We've done none of that because we've just been answering questions, and we'd much rather do it that way every week, because that's what we're live for, is to interact with the public, mortgage advisors, estate agents, buyers, sellers, tenants, landlords, Just fire questions at us every week, and we love that. We're back next Thursday, 6 o'clock. Andy, it's been a pleasure as always. I hope that wasn't a wall that just fell down in your house, but it was
a set of golf clubs.
Set of golf clubs. Obviously not Matt Pulford's, because he would be on the golf course with those for his birthday, I'm sure. Andrew, loving the new hairdo. I trimmed mine grade 3 last night. It looks slightly less harsh than yours. What's that, a 2? 1?
Well, last week it was a full skinhead.
Big tick. Out.
You missed it last week when I popped into the office and everyone was a little bit shocked.
Yeah. No facial hair either. Just went full skin.
Full lot.
I think the phrase cue ball was mentioned.
Yeah, scary, very scary, mate. But yeah,
that's the comment you want, isn't it? Scary.
Yeah, that's the thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very scary. Well, I was just thinking, full skin looks good at the moment. I think it suits you actually. Yeah, nice. But yeah, full skin. You haven't got my eyebrows, you see, so it'd just be a lot of skin. But hey ho. Facial hair though.
Yeah, we're still live in.
Yeah, sorry, Michael. I can't remember where I was going with any of this. I've been completely thrown off. But yeah, it's been a good chat, hasn't it? Good stuff. Right. Thank you everyone for listening. We're back next Thursday. Thanks for all your questions, and we'll see you soon.